Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to discuss about the signs of trig functions. Depending on the quadrant where the angle lands, the signs of trig functions are going to be different. So let's go ahead and start off with the rectangular coordinate system, also known as the Cartesian coordinate system. So let's say this is my x and this is my y, negative x direction, negative y direction. The way we define angle is this. So you start off, think of a line segment aligning with x-axis, okay? So if you move it in the counterclockwise direction, so let's say right up to here, then this angle that it makes is called theta, and it's positive if it moves counterclockwise. On the other hand, you are aligned at along x-axis, but you move clockwise. Let's say you come this direction somewhere here, and let's call this beta, and this is going to be negative angle. So positive angle versus negative angle. Now, based on where the angle falls, okay, so for instance, if your theta is 45 degrees, you're going to be here. On the other hand, if your theta is 175, you're going to be here. If you are 190 theta, it will be in this quadrant. If it is 285, it's going to be in this quadrant. So we divide the rectangular coordinate system into 4 quadrants. So this is the first quadrant, okay? This is the first quadrant. This is the second quadrant, okay? And this is the third quadrant, and this is the fourth quadrant. Now, let me go ahead and give you some ideas of the signs of trig functions based on which quadrant does it fall in. So let's say I have an angle that falls in the first quadrant, okay? In the first quadrant, everything is going to be positive. That means sine theta, cosine of theta, tangent of theta, and their reciprocals. All of them are going to be positive. So it's going to be all. So let's put it all. In the second quadrant, as it turns out, only sine of theta, okay, sine of theta and its reciprocal, which is cosecant of theta, is going to be positive. But other than that, everything else is going to be negative. So cosine of theta is reciprocal, secant theta, then tangent of theta and its reciprocal, cotangent of theta, all those 4 trig functions are going to be negative in the second quadrant. And in the third quadrant, is going to be tangent, okay? Tangent of theta, if your theta happens to fall in the third quadrant, then tangent of theta and its reciprocal, which is cotangent of theta, is going to be positive. Other than that, everything else is going to be negative, such as sine and cosecant and cosine and secant are going to be negative in the third quadrant. And if your theta happens to fall in the fourth quadrant, it is going to be only cosine of theta, okay? Cosine of theta and its reciprocal, which is secant theta, are going to be positive. And other than that, everything else, which is sine theta, cosecant theta, tangent theta, cotangent theta, are going to be negative. So this is how it works out, by the way. Now, there is an acronym or easier way to remember this thing that we use in the US. It's called All Students Take Calculus. That means all students, S for sine theta, students take calculus. What it says is that in the first quadrant is going to be everything, all trig functions are going to be positive. In the second quadrant, S for students, easy way to remember. All students take calculus. S for students, S for sine theta, and its reciprocal cosecant theta is going to be positive. Take, okay, so here take. So take the T, that stands for tangent here. So tangent is, and its reciprocal cotangent is going to be there. And last one, calculus, C, cosine of theta and its reciprocal secant theta are going to be positive. Other than that, everything else is going to be negative. So all students take calculus. That should help you remember the signs of these trig functions depending on where the theta lands. Now let's talk about just a few properties of these angles when it comes to replacing theta with negative theta. That means you are taking the opposite angle, I guess. So let's say if you have sine of theta, okay, sine of theta, right? Now if I replace it by negative theta, so if I have sine of negative theta, then I'm gonna have sine of negative theta is equal to negative sine of theta. So this is a property you want to remember. And for cosine of negative theta, similarly, cosine of negative theta, by the way, is gonna be cosine of theta, okay? And then tangent of negative theta is going to be equal to negative tangent of theta. And similarly, the reciprocals are going to work out too. So sine of negative theta is negative sine of theta. So cosecant of negative theta, reciprocal of this guy, cosecant of negative theta is going to be negative cosecant of theta. Then for cosine of negative theta, so if I have secant of negative theta is going to be just secant theta. Because look, cosine of negative theta is what? Just cosine of theta. So similarly, secant of negative theta, which is the reciprocal, negative theta is going to be secant of theta. And cotangent. So cotangent of negative theta is going to be negative cotangent of theta. So these are the properties you want to kind of keep in mind. And also, depending on where your theta lands, that's going to give you the sign of the trig functions: sine, cosine, tangent, cotangent, cosecant, and secant thetas. So I hope that this discussion was helpful. Thank you very much.